So we have just had our first night in a campsite, which I think has quelled any desire we had to perhaps pursue this as a lifestyle choice later on in life. Very cramped, very awkward. We didn't really pack for the whole holiday to be a camp holiday, so we've probably got too many suitcases and things as well, not packed in particularly practical ways. But it was interesting.
I'm familiar with campsites. I've done a fair bit of camping, and this campsite was lovely. It was really nice. It had pretty much everything you'd need. It was a Department of Conservation campsite, and apparently we've been told those ones are always really good and often very pretty. And this one was no exception. I'm not sure how much we got on video yesterday, but it was really beautiful. I think if we'd been a bit more prepared, it wouldn't be quite so frustrating having to move all the bags around every time we want to find something. But yeah. We've just had a bit of a walk around Nelson.
We have.
It was a delightful town. We had some coffee and some brunch, and we picked up some more supplies. We've got like a power board, so it'll be easier to charge our laptops to the next campsite, which hopefully will be a powered site. And got a blanket for me because we found that it was a bit difficult sharing the one doona. Kimberly likes to cocoon herself up, and I got pretty cold without the doona.
Yeah, it was cold.
So we should be good now. All good to go.
I believe so.
And so we're going to head up and check out some national parks.
Brilliant. So we have been looking for a bottle shop because we would like to get some wine and or a cider to have at the next campsite. And we've come to the stark realization that New Zealand doesn't really seem to have any bottle shops along the road, and I think this says more about Australia than it says about New Zealand, to be honest. So that's an interesting thing we've come across, and now we've ended back up at Pack and Save to see if we can find some alcohol there. Prediction was correct. We did indeed find alcohol at the supermarket, and specifically the Pack and Save, and we have gotten some Pinot Gris, some ice cider, which we weren't expecting to find, and some normal cider. So we will do a taste testing of those later today and let you know how that goes.
Kimberly, are you hunting for blackberries?
Of course I'm hunting for blackberries. They taste like victory. Hello?
Did you get any blackberries this time?
No, there were no ripe ones to be found.
But there is a lovely, lovely view.
We are at Lake Rotorua, so this is the second Rotorua of our trip. And as you can see, it is rather spectacular.
Yep. We just literally saw a sign for something scenic and drove 10 minutes, and this is what we found.
Pretty nice.
This is overdue. We're going to give you a brief tour of our little camper van. So, first of all, we have the kitchen. We've got our fridge. Various things in it. We've got some space. This box is basically the pantry. In here are all the crockery and pots and pans and such. In here, knives and forks and various things. We've got got a sink here and a fresh water tank that we can fill up through here. Anything that we use just comes, like the water from the sink just comes out the bottom. And we've got something
A propane cooker,
for cooking.
much like the one we have at home.
Yes, indeed. So there's the kitchen. In here we've got some seats. Currently all of our stuff is currently in these seats, but that we can have like seats like this, and then this turns into the bed. We just take this and we slide it forwards. Just stuff. We've got a little hidden hidey hole here.
Which also doubles up as a table, so that lid forms the top of the table, and there's also a pole in there that can be used to support the table.
And then if we were to slide these seats forwards, this whole thing comes up and then flattens down here, and that forms the bed.
Excellent.
And we just move the suitcases into the front. So we're not used to this, so it's a bit fiddly. That's, I think, it's a bit of a source of slight frustration, moving stuff backwards and forwards so we have room to sleep and know where everything is and such.
The bees are so fat here. Jonathan is making sandwiches.
Dude, I am.
We've just entered the West Coast region. A helpful sign has informed us. So to sum up today's adventures, we started off around fairly densely populated areas, although not dense compared to the North Island. We went through a bit more of a wine region. Then we headed into a mountain pass which lasted for several hours. That was not populated at all, but was very scenic. And now we've kind of come out of the other side of that a bit, and we're starting to see some very small residential rural villages with no phone signal, but there is a train line.
We just passed a creek named Slaughterhouse Creek. If our van breaks down and we get stranded here and then murdered by some terrifying country person, you'll know why they called this particular creek Slaughterhouse Creek. We've just passed over Frying Pan Creek, so I think we both want to know, is there a Fire Creek? Because then that way you could be out of the frying pan and into the fire.
So what I'm seeing is we've got some inventive locals here. Get ready for cider-drenched chicken with button mushrooms and spring onions.
Otherwise, what Jonathan would call a thing.
Yeah, mine's better.
Whenever I put random things together, as Kim and I have done just now, and Kim's like, what are you cooking? I'll just call it a thing.
It's usually deserving of that term.
But this looks pretty good.
It does.
Cheers.
Cheers.
It's really nice. Not a fan of this one.
It's okay. have had better.
We've been enjoying Pinot Gris in New Zealand. They're not really a thing in
No.
Western Australia, so I'm curious to see if we can look them up.
So, round 2 of the tastings. This is ice cider, which I have never tried before.
We've had ice wine before,
We
but
have,
never
not
ice cider.
So, let's see how it goes. I've only poured 1 glass this time. It's really unusual. It's very different.
Ooh,
It's very different. It just
it tastes a bit like
almost like dessert cider. I mean, which makes sense.
it
But
tastes like dessert wine. It's got that kind of slight fruit cakiness.
which is Jonathan's favourite label for any kind of dessert wine.
Like a little bit like port, but still quite drinkable.
I like this more than the Pinot Gris.
Now, we were a bit over eager while we were cooking. We used a bit of this in the cooking and drank the rest.
Because it's really good.
It's
This is easily
really
the best
tasty.
of the 3.
Really, really nice. Feijoa is a New Zealand native fruit, and yeah, so we were like, oh, let's try it. It's New Zealand, and so it's a little sad that we probably won't be able to find this in Australia, but
Agreed.
it's very tasty. Like this a lot.
Another hurdle we've encountered is power. So we spent last night in an unpowered campsite, and tonight we were going to spend it in a powered campsite. But when we arrived, after having bought a power board, we actually discovered that campsites don't take normal power cables. They take special camper van power cables, which means we can't actually power or charge any of our devices. So that puts a little bit of a spanner in the works. So we're going to try and see what we can do to overcome that.